Hi, my name is Rachel Garcia, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the QuickBooks Pitfalls Money Saving Tips for CFOs and Bookkeepers webinar. So a little bit about me. I am a member of the executive team here at Bernstein Financial. I've been an accountant for the past 20 plus years. I've received my business degree from California State University, Northridge. I've been an enrolled agent for the past 9 years. I am a certified QuickBooks Pro advisor, and I've worked in the accounting QuickBooks program for over 15 years. I've worked in other accounting programs, not limited to QuickBooks as well, but QuickBooks for the past 15 years. What makes my experience unique is that I see the accounting cycles from all cycles and perspectives, from the day-to-day operations of recording bank bookkeeping transactions to reviewing the results of those transactions with high-level accounting and tax perspective, brainstorming solutions for posting issues, and using the results of those financials to prepare a tax return, a business tax return, year-end or fiscal year, whatever that is. So let's move on. Bernstein Financial is a tax and accounting office with approximately 20 team members. We provide a number of services to the construction and real estate industry, as well as many other industries. Some of those services include tax preparation for individual and businesses, bookkeeping, business consulting, retirement planning, business consulting, cash flow, and so much more. So without further ado, let's get into details of pitfalls in accounting using QuickBooks. Now, I'm not going to get into all the various pitfalls because there's many that you need to be aware of, but I picked the top ones that really usually happen the most. And maybe we'll have a secondary webinar to go more in detail of these, as well as some other pitfalls. So, however, if I don't touch on something that you're looking for and you have a question or want to go in more in depth about what I talked about, feel free to reach out to me by email or call the office, and you could set up a 15-minute free consultation with myself or another accounting QuickBooks tax expert at Bernstein Financial's offices. So the first pitfall we look into is which QuickBooks type of file should I pick and what fits better with my business. There are a few different QuickBooks versions you can use, and picking the right one for your business is important. There's the QuickBooks Desktop, there's QuickBooks Enterprise, and there's QuickBooks Online, often referred to as QBO. Under QBO, there are various tiers, and we like to use the one right in the middle. And it's usually the one that produces the most efficient reports and most efficient entries, and that's QBO Essential. There are other type of QuickBooks Online and Desktop that are specific for vendors like contractors. We find that they're not any different than the main QuickBooks files. There might be some reporting reports that can be printed out of those that might be useful. But usually we find that the main QuickBooks file serves our clients more than okay. So some pros and cons on each of them. QuickBooks is price. QuickBooks Desktop and Enterprise is a one-time fee versus QBO being a monthly subscription indefinitely, as long as you use the product. However, Intuit, getting a little smart, is trying to close that gap by making QuickBooks users annually pay to upgrade, even in the same year, to not lose the ability to enter in information in the current year with their prior year information. So they sort of lock you out to be able to make current year information in the prior year QuickBooks file. It's pretty smart, but we'll see how it works out. It hasn't really worked to block people yet, but they're working on it. Trying to make everyone a subscription model in some capacity. So in that regard, price, sometimes QuickBooks Desktop or Enterprise really wins out a little bit. So QuickBooks Enterprise is really a carbon copy of the desktop version, The only difference is you can have more than 5 users in the program at a time. So it really helps companies that need to have lots of different people in the file at the same time. Maybe an AR person, AP person, the owner, the receptionist. I can't think of all the roles, but if you need multiple people in at the same time, it's the enterprise is really the way to go. So the main difference between QBO, not main difference, there's a couple different. QBO definitely has a different look and feel than the desktop enterprise versions. So if you're used to the desktop version, it's going to take a little getting used to. One of those is, unlike the desktop, QBO, you have to open up individual internet tabs to open up various different modules. So if you would like to be in your check register, in the bank reconciliation, and looking at your financial statement, you can't look all on one screen. You have to open separate internet modules for each item. And if you change something in one screen, in one internet browser for QBO, you'd have to go back and reload for those reports and those other modules to update. So it makes it a little hard to toggle between modules and make updates and see the results of those updates. So definitely QuickBooks Desktop and Enterprise are better in the ability to work in multiple modules at the same time. But one of the main benefits that we see with QBO is access. So at the desktop, you have to be with your laptop or you have to be with your computer to be able to access your QuickBooks. QBO, you just need the internet. You could be at any computer anywhere and be able to log in and access your information, which makes it great also to share with your accountant because you don't have to worry about sending a backup. You just give your client, your accountant access, and they can log in and see your data. So you don't have to worry about sending a travel drive or carrying the travel drive and restoring it. It kind of gets cumbersome to move the file one to another on desktop versus online. And it really makes it easy for accountants because we're able to log in, make journal entry, make entries in real time in your current set of books versus downtime of sending backup, having you stay out of the file. We do really like the desktop user feel, but definitely the ability to be in clients' current financial information really helps us do estimates, tax planning, pull financials to do tax returns. So it's really helpful. So let me think. So all versions have online download banking. So you don't have to decide between one based on not having the ability to download. Desktop, Enterprise, and QBO, you can all do online download banking. Bernstein Financial, what do we recommend? Well, we utilize all of them. We are efficient and we understand all of the programs. So we as a company, for our 100+ bookkeeping accounts, month-to-month bookkeeping accounts that we do, we use QuickBooks Desktop. The ability to have multiple windows open at the same time makes it much more efficient for us to do our work. But we do find benefits with the QBO, like I mentioned, being able to get into those clients' books and print things. It's definitely helpful for us. So really comes down to preference and your ability to, if you're used to the QuickBooks Desktop and you like the way it looks, it's hard to switch over. So, and there are other things that we're not going to get into on this webinar today about some of the things that look a little different, but we can look into that a little later. So our next topic that we're going to talk about is now what can go wrong with online banking and credit card downloads files. So what we mean by online banking is downloading bank and credit card transactions directly into your QuickBooks from your bank. So no matter what version you choose, online, desktop, enterprise, you can download. But the main problem we see that cause havoc on your books is double downloads. And it's quite time consuming to fix. So figuring out how not to do that is the best thing for your company. So two examples of the problems we've seen, but not limited to, the double download issue is people will download the payment for their credit cards both in the credit card module download as well as the bank download module, thereby creating a double entry of one payment that clears the bank once. So the negative impact will show a cash balance that's lower than it should. It will show a debt that's lower and overpaid than it really is. But having an organized set of a balance sheet is important. It might not show income and expenses, but a balance sheet's important to do a tax return efficiently, maybe provide to a bank for a loan. So having a balance sheet is important. And also the balance sheet, if that's incorrect, we know then that the P&L might be problematic. So that's the first area. And really how to solve that is only download the payment for a credit card in the banking module. Exclude the payments that appear in the credit card module. And we can get a little bit more in depth about that if you want to reach out, and we can talk about that a little bit or in a separate webinar. But the main thing to think about is only to download the payment for a credit card in the banking module, not in the credit card module. So the second place that we see double downloads and online issues with online banking is bookkeepers are not careful on re-downloading from a prior period they've already downloaded of income and expenses, and it's already been posted in the ledger, thereby double posting expenses and income that's already been there. And that can cause your net income to be up or down, depending if you've double posted deposits or double posted expenses. This can cause your financial to have a higher net income or lower net income, depending again, and causing more or less tax to be paid. So super important that you're downloading the transactions only once. And something that you're able to catch that, excuse me, is to do bank reconciliations. We're not going to go into how to do a bank reconciliation today, but that's definitely a way to catch if you've double downloaded in both number 1 and number 2. So that's a little bit of what could go wrong with online banking, and we can go a little bit more in depth and maybe a later webinar. So our next topic that we are going to talk about is, are you leaving money on the table with customers who owe you? So a few examples, and are not limited to, again, are bookkeepers download in from the online banking module, and then they also go and manually enter it. So they've entered the deposit twice inadvertently. And that negatively impacts your financials because now you've reported a payment on a customer that's only paid you once, and in your QuickBooks you've showed it twice. So it overstates income. It shows that your customer's overpaid, and so you might not reach out for that next invoice because there's an overpayment. So really cause havoc on your financials by recording the deposit twice. So we really recommend if you're using the AR module that you don't download online for the deposits. You go into the actual AR module to do the receive payment option. So the second issue in AR that we see is that people receive payments that there is no invoice ever created. This will cause income to not get posted to your P&L, because the only way income gets on your P&L if you're using the AR module is if you created that initial invoice. Without that, receiving a payment will hit the balance sheet, and you won't have your income sitting on your P&L. And the negative effect on that is your income on your P&L is understated, lowering your net profit, causing issues with tax planning, and maybe you're not reporting all your income for your tax returns. So definitely something that you need to be cautious of, making sure you're posting the invoice if you're going to use that receive payment module. And so in both of these circumstances, I touched on it a little bit, is that if you've made the mistake on either one of these, your AR report will be wrong. You can't pull an AR aging report and see who owes you when because you haven't done the full cycle. So to really avoid this, we really recommend, if you're going to use the AR module like I just spoke to, is to use all modules. Make the invoice, receive against that invoice, and make the deposit. And try to not use online banking for matching those deposits if you are in fact going to use that process. So the next and final pitfall that we find is in the do you have surprise vendor bills coming in the AP module? So I'm going to give you one example, and there's a few more, but one that we want to talk about today is bookkeepers will enter a bill for the amount they're going to pay versus the amount of the whole invoice. So for example, if you get an invoice from a vendor and that invoice is for $10,000, but you're only going to pay $5,000 that day, you don't enter it. You entered in only the $5,000 as a bill. You didn't put in the $10,000. Well, you're not going to have a report in QuickBooks that has an aging of who you owe what, when, what. And so you'd have to rely on looking for that bill or keeping files and looking for paper versus having it all right there in your fingertips in your QuickBooks file to be able to print an AP report of knowing when you owe who, when, and the terms. It also causes issues if you are an accrual-based taxpayer. You get, as an accrual-based taxpayer, you get to deduct an expense when it actually occurs. So when you get that bill from a vendor for $10,000 as an accrual-based taxpayer, you get that deduction. And so by only entering the bill for $5,000, you're limiting how much deduction you get. So it's really important, accrual basis, to put in the full bill, even though you're intending to only pay partial. Now, this isn't quite true with credit cards, and we can go in depth a little bit later on that at a separate webinar. But for vendors, it's important to enter the whole bill and pay what you're going to pay in that particular day. In that example, to $5,000 or whatever that number is. Cash basis, it doesn't really have an effect on your actual financials, but again, you can't pull an AP report and see who you owe and plan that out and really use the QuickBooks program to manage when you need to pay your vendors and not get an unexpected vendor bill because you haven't had it reported properly. So that concludes our discussions of issues that arise from using QuickBooks. So again, our services here are more results driven. And at our firm, we really strive to support you to successfully manage your business, minimize your taxes, sleep better at night. And so this is what our services really can do for you. So moving on, as an extra bonus of today, we're going to be making available a book that the owner of Bernstein Financial wrote, Michael Bernstein, the owner. Here it is. It's called The Big Six. You can see all the big six items. And here at Bernstein Financial, we care about not just is your P&L right, is your balance sheet right, but we care about your financial health, your whole financial health. And so this book really helps people plan for all arenas of that financial life. So it's a really short read, fun, some good stories. And so everyone should take advantage of it. And so that will be coming to you. And I think that's about it for today. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you all picked up something valuable, some piece of information that will help you in your business. Again, if there was a specific item that you want addressed or questions about a specific situation that Bernstein Financial can help you with, email me, email the office, call the office, and you can set up a free 15-minute consultation with myself or one of the other QuickBooks experts in our office. It's been a pleasure, and I hope everyone has a great day. Take care. Bye.